Earlier, folks. How about the Warriors? They lost on the buzzer beater by Harrison Barnes. Golden State is now in the 7th spot. Where's your level of concern, Monica, for the Warriors if they end up in the play-in?
Scale of 1 to 10, my concern's at like a 6. Here's the thing. If they end up in the play-in and get out and get the 2 matchup with the Rockets, they're live. If they are in the play-in and draw the 8 matchup with the OKC Thunder, I do not think they're live. I'm in on the Thunder. I get how legendary and how much basketball late in the season and postseason ball their big 3 has played, but that to me is bothersome. Now, this is still very fluid. Comes down to the very last game. Sunday they got the Clippers, which is not going to be nobody's cakewalk, so we got to see how that goes.
Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the stock market, right? The Western Conference is like, there's so much volatility here as far as you can make a case that Golden State can get to a Western Conference Finals. You can make a case that Golden State can lose in the first round. And I think, as Monica said, as long as you don't lose in that 7-8 play-in, if you're there, then yes, you do have a shot, even as a 7 seed, to get to a conference finals.
How about this? In L.A., James Harden. Well, look, real quick here. You take a look at here at the standings. There, Warriors right now, 7th spot. They're with the T-Wolves. They're in the 8th. So you can see how tight this thing is.
And to be honest, like that game itself, you can't take that game for granted. It's a 7-8 game.
Yes, absolutely. The Clippers right there in the 5 spot. Hey, James Harden had 35. Kawhi Leonard had 22. Ivica Zubac had a triple-double. You know, the Clippers beat the Rockets. The Clippers have now won 6 in a row. Bobby, I got to ask, are the Clippers, are they the sneaky contenders, I'd say, to win the West, you think?
They're dangerous, but here's the problem. They're staring at that 4-5 game. So even if they get out of that, you're looking at Oklahoma City in the second round. I will say this, though. They've got an identity about them. They defend, and if you can defend and get stops in the playoffs, you have a chance. And I think you can make a good case that the Harden-Kawhi duo is probably the second best in the Western Conference outside of Luka and LeBron.
Something about the potential of an SGA Kawhi Leonard face-off is like,
yes.
Come on, give me the mid-range money, okay?
Right.
Don't tell me the mid-range is dead, because you got both of those 2 dudes that are out there and do it at a very, very high level. You know, Bobby, I'm glad you said that, because as I've watched the Clippers as of late, their ability to defend and their versatility, I don't know that they have the same sort of depth that we've seen from OKC this year, but as much as you talk about the Harden and the Kawhi and the SGA matchup, Zubac and Hardenstein to me is another one that's really intriguing. And so I do wonder if we're starting to see the best basketball from the Clippers yet. Not that I think they had a chance to have the sort of runaway record that OKC had, but if this version of the Clippers team is a better matchup than what we've seen during the course of the regular season for them.
And let's not forget about the Nuggets. They beat the Kings in their first game since the firing of Michael Malone, snapping that 4-game losing streak that they had. Nikola Jokic, 32nd triple-double of the season. Monica, your reaction to what you saw out of Denver last night?
Honestly, ho-hum. All right, well, the train is still on the track, so to speak. And I say that because they still have a core. So much about what they're going to be able to do potentially is about how healthy they are. I get that the Malone firing personally had my jaw drop, but you go to the lead assistant, so for the most part, it's still established what we do and how we do it. The assistant's gonna put fresh eyes and fresh energy into it. They needed to win this ball game. They're better than the Kings, so I wasn't, really enthralled. I don't think there was a ton to take away from this one.
Listen, after the game, we heard from Nikola Jokic for the first time since Malone was fired. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I knew a little bit before everybody, and he told me like we made a decision, so it was not discussion, it was decision, and he told me why, and so I listened and I accepted. I'm not going to tell what he told me. I'm going to keep that private. It's really hard for me because I think this is business, and I have joy playing back home with my friends, but this is something that I want to win something, and I think I'm a professional, and I think this is my job, so I'm trying to be as professional as possible.
Okay, so you heard Nikola Jokic say, hey, look, they came to me. I got warning a little bit beforehand. I accepted it. Bobby, your reaction to what you heard from Jokic?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to Josh Kroenke, their owner. And he knows, he's been with that organization for a long time. He's been with them on the road. He knows the pulse of that locker room. He's not going to fire Michael Malone and then basically lose the locker room, certainly with Nikola Jokic here. So certainly He knows as far as what would have happened with Malone getting fired. I think the big thing here is none of the other assistants went in the firing here. So as Monica said, it's basically kind of a carryover from the current staff right now. So they're going to be interesting to watch. I mean, they're another one of these teams that are kind of lumped into this, that 3 to 8 range.
So Jokic's response is, I think, what we all expected, right? And I'm watching him respond. I'm like, would he have even protested if he wanted to? Like, is that? And I do think that he would have, because we've seen that he's an elite level competitor. But to your point, Bobby, the owner in this case is the bad guy, right? It doesn't seem that there was a bunch of resistance to making this move. And so you put it on the owner. He can wear it on his chin. The players stay clean in this one. But again, when this goes down, this is about keeping that guy happy. And if he doesn't, not saying anything is your answer. If he doesn't feel strongly about holding that guy in place or the current head coach in place, then you figure out how you make him the happiest and the most effective, because he's a fresh 30. He's got plenty of runway in his career.
Well, obviously, Mike Malone and their GM was not getting along at all, not speaking to one another. And obviously the owner said, you know what? I'm getting rid of both of them. We need a whole new culture change here before the playoffs begin. All right, coming up, star power in the NFL. What did TJ Watt, Peyton Manning, Travis Kelce all have in common? We're going to tell you next here on Get Up. He's asking now, based off of what they saw out of Luka last night and putting up that 45, coming back to Dallas, did the Lakers already win this trade?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. I don't think we're going to know for 3 or 4 years down the road based on what the Lakers do this year. Certainly there's the post-LeBron era that's got to be factored into this as far as what that roster looks like, and certainly what's going to happen in Dallas here. But at least for the moment, which is right now, yes, they did win the trade based on what happened last night, what likely will happen in the postseason here.
Now, and I think for Maverick fans, do you think Dallas, do they need to win a title and the championship before Luka wins one in LA for them to erase all this vitriol from all of this trade stuff?
Yeah, that is a terrific question. I think they do. I mean, the last thing, if you're a Mavericks fan and if you're the Mavericks organization, is for the Lakers to win a championship this year. Could you imagine that? Or even next year here. So listen, Brian, I don't even know, and this might sound a little awkward, I don't even know if Dallas wins a championship, it will erase the hard feelings that these Mavericks fans have. I mean, their hearts were broken here. And it's kind of equivalent of like when an NFL team moves in the middle of the night, whether it be the Browns going to Baltimore or Indianapolis going to Cleveland here, as far as, some of these different teams that basically did not give you a heads up. This took this fan base so off guard here, and I don't know if they'll ever be able to forgive, even if you win a championship.
What do you think, Monica? If you Maverick fans, do they need to see a championship before Luka gets one in LA for them to say
before?
Okay?
Oh, that's a wrinkle, B.
To say okay, I forgive you
before?
for trading.
I think a championship winning tends to cure all, so I do think a championship helps. I don't know if it has to be before, but I will say this. I think, again, we just got the Hall of Fame announcement officially this weekend. This is going to be one of those things where you sit back and look. Because if the Mavs get one and Luka takes the Lakers on to go get two, I think it'll always be like, whoa, that never should have happened. I'm sorry about my lack of language.
Is that what we gonna say? Oh, that never should have happened.
That's the sentiment, right? Like, throw something at the wall, like, get it off your chest. Before is an interesting question because let's be honest, Kyrie Irving is out with that injury. He's not gonna be ready by the beginning of next season. He could be because he's that kind of specimen, but it's unlikely. You got to get healthy with that group. I still think, and I was here as the trade went down, I still think Dallas is going to be a really good team if they can get healthy. But it feels like that two-letter word, if, is getting bigger and bigger every time you get news out of the Mavericks camp. And so it's tough to take a step back because the Lakers may go on some crazy run this year. But I think when it's all said and done, this is going to work out for both teams.
Okay, Monica, Bobby, let's run the floor here. And we showed it to you.